Welcome to my channel for Authors Selling Direct. Please like and subscribe because that helps me make more videos for you. Well, I'm going to come straight to the point. What is the one thing you must avoid at all costs when to be successful selling direct? And it is the selling on retailers mindset. This is super important because that one thing can stop your success in its tracks. And it's hard for us to overcome a context. You might have been selling on the retailers for years, and that's all you know. You might be new to selling direct, or you might have been doing it for a while. But everything will be run past that mindset, that context of what happened when you were selling on the retailers. Now, here I'm not talking about having some buy buttons on a website or PayHip. I'm talking to people who have an actual or want to have an actual e-commerce business, such as selling on Shopify. Well, the first thing to remember is you're not selling on the retailers when you have your own business. You're responsible for absolutely everything. Now, as much as you might be annoyed by certain retailers when you might wake up to an annoying email from them, the thing to remember is those retailers are responsible for everything. They're responsible for the customers. They're responsible for the fixing of faulty products delivered to the customer. They're responsible for delays in shipping. The retailer is responsible for absolutely everything. They're responsible for the design of the product page. They're responsible for the cross-sells, and they're responsible for the upsells. Sure, you have to have a good cover and you have to have a good blurb, but you cannot redesign that product page itself. You cannot redesign the layout. All this has to happen when you are selling direct to the customer, when it's your own store. So that's the main thing. And also, I think perhaps the most important thing to realize is you don't know what you don't know. I find this time and time again. People don't know what they don't know, obviously. So when you're selling on the retailers, please be aware there are many things that you won't know, and you might think you know them, but please have an open mind. For example, Klaviyo or Omnisend if you choose to go that way. That is an email and an SMS service provider that you use on Shopify. Now, some people think it's the same as MailerLite or MailChimp. They think it's just for sending campaigns. Nothing could be further from the truth. While, of course, it does that, and that is still important, you must never, never, never in a million years import your current list across to your store list because those people are not buyers. It'll just make a hot mess of everything. Please do not do it. Now, Klaviyo sends out automated flows. All you have to do is set them up in the first place, such as if someone looks at your product, say you send them there with an ad or they find it organically, they land on your product page and they don't buy, but they don't even add to cart. They don't commence checkout. All they do is look at your product and then they take off. Maybe they wanted to watch Only Murders in the Building or their football game. They take off, they don't buy, maybe they didn't like it. Now, Klaviyo, once you set up that automated flow, that will send that would-be customer a series of emails to try to get them to purchase because it has all the customer information logged in. Another thing, say they add to cart and they don't add to checkout. Same thing, you have an abandoned cart flow. Say they actually add it to checkout, but they don't go through with checkout. You send them an abandoned checkout flow. Say they bought something from you 3 months ago or 6 months ago and they haven't been back to your store. You send them a win-back flow. Say you haven't heard from them for a very long time, they haven't bought, nothing else has worked. You put them into a sunset flow. And you'd be surprised how many people will actually buy in the sunset flow. And there are many other flows as well. You could also send birthday flows. They're very popular. You can collect their birthdays with Klaviyo or Reconvert or other apps, and you set up an automated message to send somebody a birthday gift, say a discount on their, obviously on their birthday. And there are many other flows like that. So that's one thing to remember. Don't take your retailer mindset across to thinking that all email service providers are alike, because e-commerce ones are nothing like the other ones. And also, when you send these flows, the people, of course, don't have to have subscribed at all to you for Klaviyo to pick them up. It's because these are legal. You can send them flows because they're transactional. I won't go into the legalities here. If you don't believe me, go and Google it for yourself. But when somebody has landed on your store, you are legally allowed to send them transactional emails such as abandoned, cart flows, and all these other flows. Now, another big thing with selling direct is the customer. My mother was a jeweler, and she used to say she was a very polite woman and she was a very religious woman, but whenever some rude words came out of her mouth, it was always about customers. She could not abide the buying public. She always said rude things about the buying public. And when you have a store, you'll come to think that sort of thing as well, because not everyone is nice. Now, for example, the other day, I had to raise my daughter to emergency because she had a severe allergic reaction, severe. And I got to sleep at 3 a.m. and I woke up at 5:30. And even though it was on one of my Shopify sites, and even though my chatbot explains clearly that I am in Australia, it is the opposite time zone to the US. And if you're in the US and you email my chatbot, I can't respond because I'm asleep. So at this point, I had a whole lot of emails from this person saying, how dare you not answer me? I'm not going to buy your book. I've already asked you what USPS ground mail is. I'm not going to buy from you. You can't get upset in these circumstances. Say a few words, block the person, and move on. So many people get upset, even on their Facebook ads, when somebody says, it's an ebook, where's the print book? They're not going to buy your print book. They're just saying it most of the time. Even if your ad had a link to your print book down the bottom, the person a lot of people just like to complain, just have to go with the flow. When you're in business, you have customers, it's inevitable. And 99% of them will be lovely, but the 1% will be the ones that stand out because they can be quite horrible and mean, or they cannot read. Like, people tend to skim. People often don't read. For example, you could tell them 1,000 times that it's an ebook and they might still think it's a print book, although really that's not really common if you've used the word ebook in your description and you have a 3D image of an ebook, not a print book. But even so, I've had customers who expected it to be sent to the email address they had not given at checkout. So they gave, for their ebook purchases, they gave one email address at checkout, and they expected the system to know magically that they had a different email address and they wanted it to go there. Now, these people are usually always very polite and they feel embarrassed, but some people are not so polite. And when you're in business for yourself, you will have to deal with rude customers. Now, there are plenty of ways around this. For example, with your chatbot, with your Shopify chat, you can put a lot of the questions there. You can also, on your product page and on your shipping page, take care of a lot of the questions that will come up. But as I said, people don't read. You will get rude people. You will occasionally get a chargeback. Don't worry about it. That's part of being in business. It's like if you ride horses and you're a child, the first time you fall off a horse, adults say to you, well, now you're a rider because you've fallen off the horse. And that's like a chargeback. Once you've received your first chargeback, you're welcome to the business world. You're now in business. But you've got to take emotion out of it. Don't get wound up. I'm a very emotional person. I've also got a bit of a cold. I could get wound up, but I've told myself over the years not to get wound up. It's only business. This is what you get with the territory. Save getting wound up for other things, not for this type of thing. Do you see what I mean? Let it go, as the song goes, just let it go. Because if you get wound up and put emotion into it, you're taking away time you could be spending in your business. Getting upset about something is unproductive time. And as authors, we all know how precious time is. We're always racing. Don't get upset about customers. Just deal with them. Take the measures to prevent this type of thing. And If they're mean, just move on. Now, another thing with the author mindset is the pricing, which is very important. Now, most people selling on the retailers like free. It's always drummed into us, do a free book exchange, free, free, free. Avoid free like the plague on your website. You do not want free. You want buyers, you don't want freebie seekers. Do never give anything away for free. With your pop-up subscribe form, give them a discount. As I always say, books are not magical unicorns. Books are products. Books are no different to any other product. Of course, all products have their own little idiosyncrasies, but that goes for whether you're selling shoes or clothes or pet products or shampoo. Everything's different, but in the end, they're all products and they should be basically treated the same. Don't give away anything for free in your store. And don't give them, for example, lead magnets are for retailers, discounts are for selling direct. Do not bring your retailer mindset through to selling direct because they're two separate things. And don't think you'll do something creative and different and bring it into the world. Do that fine, but not with the basics. Keep the basics right. It's an e-commerce store. Keep it as an e-commerce store. And that brings me again to pricing. Don't price your products too cheaply. $2.99, that's what I priced books back in 2010. It's 2023, let's move on. That's a ridiculous price. I price mine, my individual books start at $6.99, but the point is you want to have, or even $8.99, you want to have a higher price so you can put them in a bundle and you push the bundle. Now, as you'll hear me saying a lot, and as you've probably already heard me say on this channel, bundles are the way to go. You put, say, 6 or 10 books in a bundle, and you can put them at half price or 40% discount. So they need to be in a higher price to start with to make the bundle look more attractive. And that's what you sell. Do not think of selling individual prices on your store. I rarely ever look at my orders and I see a single book. And if I do, I think, oh, horrors, why is it only a single book? Because when we're selling the retailers, we might have a new release and we think, oh, great, 3,000 people bought this book the day it was released, yay. But you don't think like that. When you're selling direct, you don't think in single multiples of a single book. You think in overall orders. So if you have a single book, you want them to take the cross sells, you want them to take the upsell, you want them to add more things to their order, or you want them to buy a bundle in the first place. Then maybe another bundle in the cross sell, maybe another bundle in the upsell. You don't want your average order value to be $6.99 or perish the thought $2.99. That's not sustainable. You can't run a business with such a hideously ghastly low price point. Avoid it like the plague. You want a higher price point and sell bundles. Bundles are the way to go. And let's talk about training readers. A lot of people don't like that term because it sounds rude, but I'm not talking about the terminology. I'm talking about the concept. A lot of people are going, oh, should we train readers? Should we not? Here's the thing. This is a basic, again, misunderstanding. They're talking about their hot and warm audiences, whether they realise it or not, because you can't train a reader you don't have. So when somebody talks about, and they say, I must train the reader to buy from my store rather than Amazon, and bear in mind, I'm not talking about the terminology, I'm talking about the concept. They're talking about the audiences that are warm or hot, people who have bought from them, people who have signed up to their list. They're not talking about strangers, they're cold audience. They're talking about hot and warm audiences. And in e-commerce, we deal a lot with cold audiences. The more people we can get to our store, the better. So talking about training readers to buy is basically all you do is you tell your current readers on your newsletter list, your Facebook page, TikTok, your socials, whatever. You just say, now I've got a store, blah, blah, blah. That's all you have to do. You tell them about it. You can tell them it's easy. They can read on their Kindle. You can educate them, whatever. But my point in saying all this is that is only your current readers. When people talk about training, educating, whatever, their readers. They are only talking about their current readers. So when you have a store, you're looking to get a lot more people, a lot more readers in, a lot more customers, as we call them in the e-commerce business, a lot more customers in. And then you convert them to readers. Now, there's been a lot of talk, of course, about Facebook ads, but you can use Facebook ads to get your cold audiences, your new audiences, and there are many ways to reach your warm and hot audiences, and only one of those ways is by Facebook ads. The other way is with Klaviyo. Klaviyo will continually email these people and get them to your store. So that's really good. So Klaviyo works in with Facebook ads. And as you'll always hear me say, Facebook ads in e-commerce don't work by themselves. If you've got to send the person to a nicely converting product page, which is clean. It doesn't tell them 110 ways how they download from BookFunnel. It doesn't use the words problem, even if it says no problem or no issues. You've got to be careful with the words you use. Go and read up on biopsychology, go read on copywriting if you think that's acceptable. And you have to have a nice clean page where you don't confuse the buyer. And so if all that's in place, then you set up your Klaviyo flows, and then when people land, Klaviyo takes over, and it's all automatic. So I love selling direct because I've always loved business. I hate maths though. I'm really mathematically challenged, but I do love business. And it's such fun. I find it fun, but you might not. Everyone's different. And it's not for, selling direct isn't for everyone. Because as I said, you have to do everything now. You are now the retailer. You have all the responsibility. You have to do everything. And if you're fine with that, and if you enjoy that, then selling direct is definitely for you. But please keep an open mind and be aware that there are things that you don't know. And if you don't know them, you don't know them. There could be so many things you could do. So many people have come to me and said, I don't need any training in Shopify because I have a store. Here's my link. And then I don't know what to say because it's dreadful. Like most of the time, some of them are good. Most of the time it's dreadful. And there are simple, terrible things. They have dreadful coloured buy buttons. There's a hot mess. They have the wrong information, too much information. They've got horrible stuff above the fold. Their good stuff, their hook might not be there, or it's at the bottom of the page. They might have social buttons up the top. You want to keep people on your page. Don't give them somewhere right up the top above the fold where you're going to get them off your site. It's common sense. And you've got to have a lot of common sense when you're in business. Common sense. But the thing you should not have is the selling on retailer mindset. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.